More than 6 decades after the start of the New Age, there remained no single force with the power or will to claim dominance over the galaxy. Instead, entire nations were slowly ensnared within an intricate web of interstellar politics. Competing alliances and federations had formed, wars and conflicts had upended entire star systems, and utopian ideals had been cast aside when presented with far more tangible pragmatic opportunities. To many, however, the united powers of the Fifth Interstellar seemed on the precipice of becoming the first true superpower. Together, the Union of Supreme Synthetic Republics, the Sozialistische Räterepublik, the Cooperative Commune of Crustacean Planets, and the Asphodel Anarchist Collective represented the most powerful economic and military force within the galaxy. But divisions within their coalition had already begun to form. Fierce ideological debates erupted and soon turned violent. When it was realized the divide between synthetics and organics might never be bridged, the USSR renounced their obligations to the Fifth Interstellar and were declared class traitors by its remaining members. As the galaxy reeled from this upheaval, the Termitidae Collective saw a chance to regain what they had lost. Their hive mind declared war on the weakened Fifth Interstellar, and in the Battle of Mother's Lament, retook the world of Wegmore, and with it the primitive Zakplot people. Reluctant to engage in a full-scale war so soon after the near collapse of their coalition, the SRR and CCCP agreed to an armistice after a series of indecisive engagements. As more of the galaxy descended into chaos, the Holy Valtan Kingdom celebrated the discovery of a world unrivaled in its beauty. Seen as proof of the divine, they began to colonize its surface. Yet the Holy Valtan Kingdom was not the only power in the galaxy to consider this world a spiritual place. The Sinrath Guardians revered its surface as hallowed ground, and declared a holy war on the Valtan people. An ancient power that commanded the destiny of the galaxy far before the arrival of the younger races, the Sinrath Guardians was a nation against which the Holy Valtan Kingdom could not compete. With no other choice, they surrendered. Their leadership was executed, and their kingdom was left humiliated and humbled, but spared. Spiritually broken, the Valtan Kingdom declared their god to be one of malice and not worthy of their devotion. All across the galaxy, the delicate peace that had endured began to unravel. The UNG and its Federation's progress against the Dredge was halted. Once within striking distance of the Dredge's homeworld, the conflict had deteriorated into a war of attrition neither side was willing to endure. The peace that followed left resentment on both sides, and the Cupiter technocracy withdrew from the UNG's Federation in disgust. Meanwhile, once again, the Way declared their own holy war against the Omni Codex, assisted in battle by the fleets and armies of Reflex Inc. In a stunning victory, the Allies prevailed and the Omni Codex was dismantled. Their worlds were divided between the victors, and the Omni Codex reduced to a memory. The rivalry and conflict that had defined their region of the galaxy was finally over. The USSR, now free of the restraining hand of the Fifth Interstellar, put into motion its own plans to extend its will. No longer fully capable of differentiating various organic species, however, it declared war on the Cupiter Technocracy and Cyber Equestrian Collective, while simultaneously proclaiming its intentions to liberate the UNG. This programming error left thousands dead, and the synthetic republics were able to claim 2 systems from the Cupitor before they realized they had declared war on the wrong species. Such events were mere trivialities to the Cyber Equestrian Collective. In both war and peace, they remained fixated on the guiding wisdom of the worm, which had finally arrived deep within the collective's space. To the rest of the galaxy, however, the Union of Supreme Synthetic Republics represented a clear and present danger. Even without its former allies, it remained one of the most powerful nations in the galaxy, while its erratic behavior worried its neighbors. In an unprecedented act, direct talks began between the UNG Federation and the Fifth Interstellar, both now committed to restraining the actions of the synthetic republics. As the first century of the New Age drew to a close, the Fifth Interstellar declared war on the Synthetic Republic and their new allies, the increasingly cybernetic Equestrian Collective. The initial attacks launched by the Asphodel Anarchist Collective were largely ineffective, and even the entry of the Valtun Kingdom was not enough to turn the tide. The Valtun Kingdom quickly ended its role in the conflict, exchanging 2 star systems in return for peace. The Fifth Interstellar fought on alone. Yet bright spots in the galaxy remained. Within the borders of the Tarkardian utopia, a project of immense scale began. An artificial habitat, one large enough to surround an entire star system, was slowly put into place. This would be the defining element of the so-called Utopia Declaration, with the Tarkardians proclaiming their commitment to the peace and happiness of their citizenry. The crime lords known as the Family, meanwhile, continued to spread their influence to every corner of the galaxy, even as far as the distant worlds of the Way. Where the Family arrived, corruption followed, and even the most brutal attempts to remove their influence achieved only partial success. Faced with an entire galaxy filled with what they considered heathens and deviants, the Way proclaimed a new federation, formed with 2 nations that, until now, had remained on the sidelines of galactic politics. The Flargal Stargazers, a civilization dedicated to awaiting the return of their messiah, Flakashi Hargal, known as the Veiled One, together with the Bosionian Brotherhood, a species gifted with seemingly supernatural psionic powers, now stood together as the Council of Seekers. Above all, they abhorred the machine empires of the universe and dedicated the new alliance to their complete destruction. Their hatred was perhaps justified. Across the galaxy, the Fifth Interstellar had made precious little progress against the USSR or the Cyber-Equestrian Collective. But in a single daring attack, all that changed. Utilizing a natural pathway through space-time known, perhaps somewhat ironically, as a wormhole, the SRR mounted a surprise attack against the Cyber-Equestrians. Numerous systems were seized, and both sides agreed to a ceasefire. With the war over, the Asphodel Anarchist Collective now dedicated itself to the construction of a true ecumenopolis, utterly transforming the surface of their homeworld. They were not alone. The worlds of the USSR had likewise been converted, not into gleaming planet-wide cities, but cold machine grids within which countless synthetic drones endlessly toiled. With few nations willing to oppose them, and those that did unable to contain their spread, the synthetic republics now rose to a position of prominence above all others in the galaxy. But it was in a remote corner of the galaxy from which the greatest threat in recent memory would arise. The Pelx-Credonian Freeholders, a loose collection of warbands and warring factions, were now united under the guile, charisma, and military genius of a single great Khan. Now calling themselves the Pelx-Credonian Horde, they moved to expand their borders in numbers never before imagined. The worlds of the Bosionian Brotherhood were the first to fall, wholly unprepared for an assault of this magnitude. The Council of Seekers massed for a counterattack, but even their combined forces were hardly a match for Khan. To the Valtun Kingdom, the rise of the Great Khan was further proof that God was cruel. As the fleets of the Horde encroached on their borders, the kingdom surrendered. They pledged their support to bolster the Khan's war machine, and delivered to him unopposed passage across their space. The first great challenge of the New Age has arrived. To some, it represents the greatest threat of their brief existence. To others, salvation from the cruel realities of the universe. To others, however, the Great Khan is merely an opportunity from which to upend the established order and bring about unfathomable change. There are forces across the galaxy that have yet to make their move, and their time might finally have arrived. Thanks to Paradox Interactive for allowing us at the Templin Institute to investigate and document the many empires in this intense and unpredictable universe. We'll be providing a summary of the events of the Dev Clash series every few weeks, but if you'd like to watch our own Stellaris Invicta series, where we chronicle the rise of the Greater Terran Union, its wars against the hostile alien federation known as the Compact, and its ultimate vengeance against the hive-minded Tyrum, check out our Twitch and YouTube channels.